The galaxy was vast, a tapestry of empires woven from light years of conquest, diplomacy, and technology so advanced that it bordered on sorcery. Amid the sprawling alliances and rivalries stood the Galactic Council, a coalition of the galaxy's most powerful species. Its chambers, carved into the heart of a moon-sized station, gleamed with metals that refracted light into cascading colors. Each seat was filled by representatives of civilizations that had thrived for millennia, their technologies reshaping worlds and their arrogance reflecting their perceived superiority. At the center of this splendor, Earth's lone representative looked painfully out of place. Ambassador Daniel Ward, clad in a simple black suit, stood amidst beings adorned in shimmering holographic robes or encased in semi-organic exosuits. His human features, graying hair, sharp brown eyes, and a furrowed brow, lacked the dramatic flair of his alien counterparts. Yet, despite their mocking glances and barely concealed sneers, Ward stood tall, his voice steady as he addressed the assembly. "Humanity seeks recognition as a sovereign member of this council," he said, the words clipped but resolute. "We have proven our resilience and adaptability. Our presence here is a testament to our determination to find our place among the stars." A ripple of amusement coursed through the chamber. The Averic Dominion's ambassador, a towering insectoid with an iridescent carapace, clicked its mandibles in a mocking approximation of laughter. Resilience? Adaptability. The Averic ambassador's voice was a sibilant hiss, amplified by unseen speakers. "Your species clings to relics of a bygone age. Armored vehicles, ballistic weaponry, manually piloted machines. Your technology is a joke compared to the precision of our quantum fleets and neurosynaptic armies." Another voice, deep and guttural, joined in. "Even your ships are laughably slow. Tell me, human, do you still rely on combustion engines?" The speaker, an amphibious being from the Obert's conglomerate, chuckled, its bulbous eyes gleaming with malice. Ward's jaw tightened, but he refused to rise to the bait. Instead, he allowed a small smile to touch his lips. "Perhaps our methods seem primitive to you, but I would remind this council that simplicity often masks ingenuity." "Enough!" The voice of the presiding arbiter, a crystalline entity radiating a cold blue light, cut through the jeers. "Earth has been granted this audience as per council protocols. However, the question remains, does this primitive world have any technology or capability worthy of recognition? Mere words will not suffice." Ward stepped back, his expression unreadable. From the shadows behind him, General Amanda Riker emerged. Clad in Earth's military uniform, her presence radiated quiet authority. Her short-cropped hair and piercing green eyes gave her the look of someone who had seen too many battles and survived them all. She carried a datapad, but it was her voice, firm and unwavering, that commanded attention. "With respect, Arbiter," Riker said, "Earth has no intention of proving itself through speeches. Let us demonstrate our worth in the arena." The chamber fell silent. Even the Averic ambassador's mocking click ceased. The Galactic Council had long abandoned physical combat in favor of simulations and bloodless skirmishes. The suggestion was almost barbaric. "You propose a challenge?" the Arbiter asked, its crystalline facets shifting subtly. Riker nodded. "A demonstration of our technology and tactics. A controlled engagement against a willing opponent." The Averic ambassador leaned forward, its multifaceted eyes glinting with cruel amusement. "And if you lose, human, will Earth accept its place as an irrelevant backwater?" Riker's gaze never wavered. "If we lose, Earth will withdraw its petition to join the Council and cease all interstellar ambitions. But if we win, we demand respect and acknowledgement of our sovereignty." The chamber erupted in murmurs. The stakes were high and the terms bold. For a moment, the council seemed to teeter between outrage and intrigue. Then the Arbiter spoke again. "Who among you will accept this challenge?" The Averic Dominion wasted no time. "We will," their ambassador declared. "It will be a mercy to put these upstarts in their place." "Very well," the Arbiter said. "The challenge is accepted. A battlefield will be prepared, and the engagement shall commence in one lunar cycle." As the council adjourned, Ward turned to Riker. "You realize what you've done," he said quietly. Riker's lips twitched in the ghost of a smile. "We've given them exactly what they wanted, a reason to dismiss us. Now we'll give them a reason to fear us." Back on Earth, preparations began in earnest. The United Earth Defense Corps worked tirelessly, assembling the centerpiece of their strategy, the Juggernaut, a towering combat unit designed not for elegance, but for sheer indomitable strength. Standing in the hangar, Riker watched as engineers scrambled over the machine, securing the last of its armor plates. The Juggernaut was an intimidating sight. 30 meters tall, its frame bristling with weaponry, its dark, reflective surface seemed to drink in the light, and its every joint hummed with restrained power. Major Elena Cruz, the pilot chosen for this mission, approached. She was a veteran of countless battles, her record spotless and her determination unshakable. "Ready for the fight of your life?" Riker asked. Cruz smirked. "Always." As the lunar cycle drew to a close, Earth's forces arrived at the designated battlefield, a barren moon chosen for its neutrality. The alien spectators gathered in orbit, eager to witness what they assumed would be a swift and humiliating defeat for humanity. But as the Juggernaut stepped onto the field, its footfalls echoing like thunder, a ripple of unease passed through the crowd. The Averic forces, sleek and menacing, prepared to unleash their full arsenal. Yet, even as the mockery continued, there was a tension in the air. Ward, watching from the command center, murmured, "Let them laugh. They won't be laughing for long." The signal to begin was given, and the battlefield erupted into chaos. The barren moon was a wasteland of craters and jagged ridges, its gray dust swirling in the thin atmosphere as the combatants took their positions. The Averic Dominion's forces were a spectacle of technological supremacy. Hundreds of energy drones hovered in synchronized formations, their translucent shields shimmering with a faint blue hue. Sleek, multi-limbed mechs stood poised, their plasma cannons glowing ominously. Above, the silhouettes of orbital strike platforms loomed, casting long shadows over the battlefield. From their vantage point, the Galactic Council observers watched with a mix of curiosity and disdain. They had gathered in holographic projections or physical forms aboard the observation ship, eager to witness Earth's inevitable defeat. This was a formality, a final act in a play whose ending seemed preordained. Then came the sound, a deep, resonant rumble that grew louder with each passing second. Dust clouds billowed on the horizon as the Juggernaut stepped into view, its massive frame casting a silhouette that dwarfed every other unit on the battlefield. 30 meters of unyielding steel and composite alloys, it was a walking fortress. Its surface was marked by a dark sheen, broken only by faint red highlights tracing its joints and weapon mounts. Inside the cockpit, Major Elena Cruz gripped the controls with practiced ease. The neural interface linked her mind to the Juggernaut systems, every movement an extension of her own body. Her pulse was steady, her focus razor-sharp. The tactical display projected onto her visor showed the enemy forces arrayed against her, a sea of red blips surrounding her lone blue marker. She exhaled slowly. "Command, this is Cruz. Juggernaut is online and advancing," she said. General Riker's voice came through the comms, calm and steady. "Acknowledge, Major. Stick to the plan. Let them underestimate you." Elena smirked. "They wouldn't dare overestimate me." The Averic forces opened fire first. Beams of concentrated plasma streaked across the moon's surface, their brilliance illuminating the desolate landscape. The Juggernaut became a target of relentless bombardment, the ground beneath its feet erupting in fiery blasts. In the observation deck, the Averic ambassador leaned back with a satisfied hum. "Primitive," it muttered, clicking its mandibles. But as the dust began to settle, the Juggernaut remained standing. Its surface shimmered with faint distortions, The energy dispersal grid integrated into its armor-absorbing and redirecting the plasma's heat. The first volley had done little more than scratch its surface. Elena pushed the throttle forward, and the Juggernaut surged ahead. Each step was a seismic event, shaking the ground beneath it. From its shoulder mounts, missile pods slid into position, launching a salvo that streaked toward the drone formations. The sky erupted as dozens of drones were obliterated in a cascade of fire and debris. The AVRIC commander barked orders, their forces adjusting tactics. The Mets surged forward, their movements fluid and precise. One leaped toward the Juggernaut, its plasma blades slicing through the air. Elena pivoted, the Juggernaut's massive arms swinging out in a devastating arc. The mech was caught midair, smashed into the ground with such force that it shattered into a heap of molten metal. "Nice try," Elena muttered, but the enemy was learning. More Mets coordinated their assault, flanking the Juggernaut and targeting its joints. One managed to latch onto its leg, plasma torches cutting into the armor. Warning lights flared in Elena's cockpit as she felt the heat through the neural interface. "Command, they're adapting," she said, her voice steady but edged with urgency. Riker's reply came instantly. "Use the pulse. Show them why we built that thing." Elena grinned. "With pleasure." She flipped a series of switches, and the Juggernaut's core began to hum, a deep vibration that resonated across the battlefield. Energy conduits along its frame lit up, glowing a fierce red. A low, guttural whine built up, growing louder and louder until, in an instant, the Juggernaut unleashed its gravitational pulse. The shockwave rippled outward, an invisible force that sent Mets and drones flying like leaves in a storm. The ground itself cracked and buckled, and the AVRIC forces were thrown into disarray. The battlefield fell eerily silent for a moment, the dust settling to reveal the Juggernaut, standing alone amidst the wreckage. In the observation deck, the AVRIC ambassador's smug demeanor had evaporated. What is that weapon?" it hissed, its mandibles clicking nervously. Riker, watching from Earth's command center, allowed herself a small smile. "Just a little something we've been working on," she murmured. But the fight was far from over. The AVRIC orbital platforms began their assault, beams of energy descending from the sky in coordinated strikes. The Juggernaut dodged and weaved, its movements surprisingly agile for its size. Elena pushed the machine to its limits, her neural link allowing her to anticipate and counter the attacks. A massive beam struck just behind the Juggernaut, the explosion sending shock waves through its frame. Elena grit her teeth as alarms blared in her cockpit. "Command, we need air support or I won't last much longer." Riker's voice came through, calm as ever. "Hold your ground, Major. Reinforcements are en route." Elena clenched her fists around the controls, her resolve hardening. "Guess it's just you and me for now," she muttered to the Juggernaut. The AVRIC forces regrouped, their remaining Mets and drones forming a final assault wave. This time, they moved with calculated precision, targeting the Juggernaut's weak points. Elena knew she couldn't hold them all off, but she wasn't about to back down. The first wave hit hard, plasma cannons scoring direct hits on the Juggernaut's armor. Elena retaliated with everything she had, missiles, railguns, and even the Juggernaut's colossal fists. The battlefield became a chaotic melee, with explosions lighting up the gray expanse. As the second wave closed in, Elena's comms crackled. "Crews, this is Falcon Squadron. We've got your 6. Above, Earth's fighter craft descended, sleek and deadly. They tore through the enemy ranks, clearing a path for the Juggernaut to advance. Elena seized the opportunity, driving the Juggernaut forward with a roar of engines. One final mech stood in her path, larger and more heavily armored than the others. It was the AVRIC commander's personal unit, a symbol of their supremacy. Elena squared her shoulders, her eyes narrowing. "Let's see who's outdated now," she muttered, surging forward to meet her opponent. The final mech, the AVRIC commander's personal war machine, loomed over the battlefield. It was a monstrous creation, its armor plates gleaming with a reflective, almost liquid quality, shifting colors with each movement. The machine's limbs were longer and bulkier than the others, and its weapons bristled with power, plasma cannons, energy blades, and pulse disruptors that crackled with lethal potential. Its presence on the battlefield was both intimidating and overwhelming. It was a symbol of Averic supremacy, a culmination of millennia of technological development. The Juggernaut, battered but far from broken, faced the giant. Elena Cruz gripped the controls with a fierce determination, every sensor in her mind tuned to the movement of the Averic mech. She could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, a deep, primal need to win for her people. The stakes were high. If she lost, Earth's bid for recognition would be reduced to dust. There would be no second chances, no more room for mistakes. Ready for this, she muttered to herself. In the cockpit, the weight of the Juggernaut felt heavier than ever. The neural interface hummed beneath her fingertips, the Juggernaut systems responding to every subtle command, but her attention was sharp, every muscle primed for action. On the battlefield, the Averic commander's mech raised its arms, twin energy blades flickering to life. It moved with precision, its every movement an unspoken promise of destruction. Elena's breath caught, but she refused to show fear. She activated the Juggernaut's thrusters, propelling it forward in a burst of speed that belied its massive form. The ground trembled under its weight as it closed the gap between them. The Averic commander's voice crackled over the comms. "You are foolish to challenge me, human. Your primitive machine will break like the rest." Elena's lips curled into a slight smile. "Maybe, but I've been wrong before." She slammed the control levers forward, and the Juggernaut responded. The massive fist of the machine shot out with bone-shattering force, aiming for the Averic mech's chest. The blow landed with a resounding clang, the impact sending a shockwave through the battlefield. The Averic mech staggered, its footing faltering for a brief moment, but it quickly righted itself, its pulse disruptors charging for an attack. Elena had anticipated this. She twisted the controls, pushing the Juggernaut into a sharp turn, narrowly avoiding the pulse shot that seared through the air. The Averic commander's mech swung its energy blades downward, trying to cleave the Juggernaut in half. The Juggernaut's left arm raised instinctively, its armored gauntlet meeting the blow. The clash of metal on energy rang out, but the Juggernaut held firm. Elena's heart raced as she pushed the machine to its limits. She activated the kinetic energy absorbers, redirecting the force of the impact back into the Averic mech. It faltered, its stance weakening under the pressure. For a split second, Elena saw her opening. She drove the Juggernaut forward, delivering a punishing blow with the right fist that slammed into the Averic mech's midsection. Sparks flew as the impact caused a cascade of systems to overload. The mech staggered back, struggling to maintain control. "Elena, do you need support?" Riker's voice came through the comms, filled with a mix of concern and authority. "I've got this," Elena responded, her voice tight but unwavering. "This fight's just getting started." The Averic commander growled through the comms, frustration lacing every word. "You'll pay for that, human. You think brute force will win this? You are nothing compared to our technology." The Averic mech raised both of its arms, plasma cannons ready to fire. The air shimmered with heat as the weapon systems charged, preparing to unleash a devastating barrage. Elena's mind raced. There was no time to waste. She needed to act. The Juggernaut's internal systems hummed with power. The gravitational pulse cannon, an experimental weapon, flickered to life. It had been a last-minute addition, something untested and dangerous, but the only thing that could possibly turn the tide of battle. Elena hesitated for a heartbeat, but only for a heartbeat. She had no choice. With a decisive motion, she flipped the switch. A sudden, blinding burst of energy shot from the Juggernaut's chest. The gravitational pulse cannon unleashed its full power, and the Averic mech's plasma shield shimmered, struggling to absorb the immense force. The energy radiated out in waves, distorting the very fabric of space around them. The Averic mech's shields buckled under the pressure, and the gravitational distortion rippled through the mech systems, causing them to short-circuit. The Averic commander screamed in frustration, but it was too late. The pulse hit its mark, and the mech's left leg collapsed under the strain. It staggered, its movements sluggish and uncoordinated. Elena didn't wait. She surged forward again, using the Juggernaut's massive weight to her advantage. In one final, decisive move, she rammed the Juggernaut's shoulder into the Averic mech's chest, sending it crashing to the ground with an earth-shaking impact. The Averic machine system sputtered, sparks flying from its joints. Elena raised the Juggernaut's fist for the final strike, bringing it down with all the might she could muster. The ground trembled as the punch landed, the Averic mech's head caving in under the force. The battle was over. For a long moment, there was silence. The Averic commander's mech lay motionless, crumpled and defeated, a testament to the raw power of Earth's ingenuity and will. Elena allowed herself a brief exhale of relief, her heart pounding in her chest. She had done it. Earth had done it. "We've won," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. In the distance, Earth's reinforcements were sweeping the field, finishing off the remaining Averic forces. The battle was over, but the significance of this moment, the shift in the balance of power, was only beginning to sink in. Elena's fingers hovered over the controls as she surveyed the wreckage of the battlefield. She had proven that humanity's strength wasn't just in technology. It was in their refusal to be broken, in their ability to adapt, to fight with everything they had, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. For the first time, Earth had shown the galaxy that it was not to be underestimated. The tide had turned. The silence that followed the battle was almost deafening. The crackle of static in Elena Cruz's helmet was the only sound, the comm system still processing the aftermath of the victory. She sat in the cockpit of the Juggernaut, staring out at the devastated battlefield, where the wreckage of the Averic mech lay crumpled and lifeless. The dust had begun to settle, and the sky above, once full of the blazing fire of orbital strikes, was now eerily still. Elena took a deep breath, allowing herself a moment to relax as the adrenaline slowly drained from her system. Her hands ached from gripping the controls, but her mind was sharp. Earth had won, against all odds, against the might of a galactic empire that had regarded humanity as nothing more than an afterthought. "This is Major Cruz, reporting victory," she said into the comms, her voice calm but filled with quiet pride. "Understood, Major," General Riker replied, her voice tinged with relief. "You've done it. Earth stands unbroken." Elena allowed herself a smile, but it was fleeting. The fight was over, but the true significance of their victory was only just beginning to unfold. The Averic Dominion had underestimated humanity, Elena's people, and now the galaxy would see them in a new light. No longer would Earth be dismissed as a fringe, isolated planet on the edge of the galactic map. They had proven themselves as worthy adversaries, capable of standing toe-to-toe with the greatest forces in the universe. Elena knew that this victory was more than just a military triumph. It was a statement. The Galactic Council, once dismissive and aloof, would have no choice but to reconsider their stance on Earth. The battle had shattered the illusion that humanity was insignificant, that Earth was just a pawn in a much larger cosmic game. No! Earth had fought back and won on its own terms. This wasn't just the dawn of a new era for the planet. It was the birth of a new era for the galaxy itself. "Riker, do we have any word from the Council yet?" Elena asked, her voice steady. There was a pause before Riker responded. "Not yet, but they'll be contacting us soon." "You've made your point, Major." Elena's eyes shifted to the horizon, where Earth's reinforcements were beginning to sweep through the battlefield, finishing off the last pockets of resistance. They hadn't just survived. They had turned the tide. The comms crackled again, and this time, a voice Elena had not expected filled her ears. It was the Averic ambassador. "You," it began, its tone dripping with contempt. "You should have never been able to defeat us. This will not go unpunished. Elena's brow furrowed. You lost. Your forces are broken. Your mech commander shattered. There's nothing left to punish. The ambassador hissed, a sound that sent a chill down her spine. Do not mistake this for an end, human. You have only begun to feel the consequences of your insolence. The galaxy does not forget. Elena clenched her jaw but refused to let the ambassador's words rattle her. Maybe it's time you learned that the galaxy isn't the one that gets to decide Earth's fate anymore. We do. The line went dead. Elena sat back in her seat, exhaling slowly. She was well aware of the threat the Averic Dominion still posed. But something inside her had changed, and she knew that humanity, for the first time in millennia, was no longer looking at the stars with fear. Back on Earth, in the High Command Center, General Riker turned to the counselors gathered around her. The images of the battle played across a massive holographic display, showing the final moments of the fight as the Juggernaut stood victorious. The faces around her were somber, thoughtful, but there was no doubt in anyone's mind that humanity had crossed the threshold. We've made our mark, Riker said, her voice firm. Now we need to make sure we never have to prove ourselves again. One of the counselors, an older man with graying hair, spoke up. And what are the other galactic powers? The ones who watched this unfold. Riker glanced at the display, where the shattered remnants of the Averic fleet were slowly retreating. They've seen what we're capable of. The time for diplomacy is over. Earth will stand as a force in the galaxy, or we'll ensure no one forgets who we are. Another counselor, a woman with dark, sharp eyes, leaned forward. We need to build on this. Now is the time to forge alliances. The Averic might not be the only ones who underestimate us. Riker nodded. I agree, but for now we take stock. We rebuild, rearm, and most importantly, prepare for the future. Earth's place in this galaxy has been solidified. We will not be treated as a backwater world again. Back on the battlefield, Elena powered down the Juggernaut, her mind still processing everything that had happened. The battle had been a victory, but there was a lingering feeling that this was only the beginning. She had no illusions about what came next. Earth had made its mark, but it was just a start. As she climbed out of the cockpit, her boots thudding softly against the moon's surface, Elena glanced up at the sky. She knew the galaxy was vast, filled with countless species and empires. But for the first time, Earth was no longer an unknown. Humanity had shown it could fight, survive, and win. And that was something the galaxy would have to reckon with. Elena smiled, looking back at the Juggernaut's massive form. Earth was no longer a spectator in the universe. It was a player. A new era had begun.